legitimately just changed his Twitter profile picture and header, both of which were Liverpool related. Now, this might not, mean anything at all, but we're not even 2 hours after the game. And for him to go onto his social media and change this kind of stuff, is he trying to send a message? Is he the type to be really upset and disappointed for being dropped in back-to-back Champions League games after signing his new bumper contract at the end of last season? Yes, 100% I think he is. But I don't think he's the type that would go out of his way to actually cause shit and fall out with people, etc. He is such an ambassador for this club, such a role model. I just refuse to believe he would act in that way.
Mo Salah, by the way, welcome back to Killing the Game. Hit the like button, subscribe, get the bell notification button turned on. If you would be so kind as to hit the hype button as well. If you've got any hypes left, please get this show hyped up in that way. But Mo Salah, after Liverpool's emphatic, their destruction win over Frankfurt, has deleted all connections to Liverpool on his social media profile. Not all of his posts, but on his X profile has deleted everything. And I've seen a variety of responses, some in solidarity saying, let's get behind Mo, let's leave Mo alone, right through to some disgraceful manosphere level abuse. And I say manosphere, people that pretend to be real men typically behave that way online. And it's crazy. And I'd love to get your views. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. He hasn't had a very good season. He's had the new bumper deal. He has suffered a very, very great personal loss. And there seems to be a struggle at the moment in Mo Salah's life. And he isn't quite delivering. But the treatment of him online in the past few weeks, I'm a United fan. And yet there is a part of me as a rival that wants to jump on it. But I'm also a grown-up. I'm also a man. I'm also a father. And I look at this and there's something that's becoming, for me, very uncomfortable. You may agree. You may disagree. You can put it in the comments. We can have a chat and conversation about it. But it wasn't the only video about this situation and scenario that came out. Let's have a look at maybe the beginning of this circumstance as well.
Let's talk about this Mo Salah situation. Basically, he's taken all Liverpool content out of his X profile, his profile picture, his header, everything. The catalyst for all of this drama was a tweet from Lewis Steele saying that Mo Salah went straight down the tunnel in a stroop after the game. That made...
So look, just stop there for a second. So there was a big post that, as you can see, went very viral very quickly from Lewis Steele, who I should have probably done the research before recording, but I didn't. Lewis Steele is, I assume he's a Liverpool-based journalist. I don't know who he works for. I'm checking now. He works for the Mail, Merseyside man for the Mail Sport. So he works for the Daily Mail, but he's a Merseyside-based correspondent. Just for context, but says Mo Salah straight down the tunnel at full time. Loads and loads of positives to take from tonight for Liverpool, but he looked in a strop.
After the game. That made it sound like he didn't care, he didn't clap the fans, he just stormed off the pitch straight away, which isn't true. The tweet got deleted and corrected later, but by that point, the hate had already kicked in.
And this is why you've got to be so careful. We already know Mo Salah is going through some things on a personal level in connection to Jota. We know that his form isn't where he wants it to be. And listen, you don't get to the level of success in any industry that Mo Salah's at without there being a certain arrogance and a certain ego that you have to have. Whether people like that word or not, it's the truth, because that is what gives you a very thick skin to handle all the rejections, to push through barriers to get to where Mo Salah is. But this is why sometimes reacting in a knee-jerk way can damage a player further. Man United went through this when Gary Neville disgracefully stated that he was asking to be substituted off a football pitch when he wasn't. That led to so many people kicking off at Bruno Fernandes. And then, of course, whenever there is room for legitimate criticism, you always get the amoebas and the scumbags and the manosphere mama's boys come out and start the more heinous abuse. Some of it even becomes racial and Islamophobic. And for me, Liverpool fans have got to come together here to protect one of the greatest players in their club's history. Should he have removed it? Probably not. But I think mountains are being made out of molehills here. But I'd love to get your views. I'd love to get your opinions on this in the comment section below. Now, on Liverpool, a big positive for them. Listen, they fantastic last night. There was some great irony in their win with Liverpool have scored more set-piece goals for than any other club in the Champions League this season. There is something beautiful. There is something wonderful. There is something almost rustically, poetically, ironically beautiful about it, as I say, with all the kind of stick and banter that some Liverpool fans, but namely the likes of Jamie Carragher and co have given towards Arsenal in the last few days. I actually laughed, genuinely laughed, and enjoyed those goals for that moment. And by the way, set pieces are important. Set pieces are a key and fundamental part of your game. We've got a video dropping this afternoon on that. I've done some quite long research into how many games that Premier League title winners have won and what percentage of those goals in those games were scored by set pieces. It is staggering. And this is why maybe it's been irking on me a little bit, because something's felt off about this criticism. So well done to Liverpool there. But you know when Liverpool have done good, okay? And I want to be fair and I want to be as unbiased as possible on these shows. That is the point, okay? Yes, this kind of behavior towards players, I think, kills the game. This, on the other hand, is the opposite. This is what I want to see from fans, but not what I want to see from the mainstream media. Let's take a look.
You will not get away with stat padding today. Mr. Ben 10, you will not get away with stat padding. Tonight, these assists do not count. You're playing in Germany. We need to see that in England. Yeah? One little pass to Szoboszlai and one little cutback will not be sufficient. So Florian Wirtz, today doesn't count.
Listen, the content I make on this, listen, it's shameless. Syed's a Man United fan. This is his brand. It's the way he is. It's his personality. His brand is his personality, is what I'm essentially saying. And he's allowed to say this. The scary element, and again, I'm planting a seed here. Man United fans, Everton fans, knock yourselves out. You do create a bit of a paradox where you're going to have players that get assists like that will then be taken away from them. And if you're, I look at it this way, you know, that person in life, have you ever been around that person who will banter everybody, mock everybody, rip into everybody, laugh at everybody's misfortunes? Have you had a friend in your friends group who's like that? But then when the joke's on them, their reaction's always, why are you laughing at me for? What's there to laugh at? And they get a bit arsey. They get a little bit defensive. If you know people like that, if you're like that, you can't do what Said just did. If you get overly protective, nasty, horrible, hostile, venomous, when this is done to your club and players, don't give it out. Don't give it out. But what I'm talking about here and what I find very interesting is the mainstream media will run with this now. Because the mainstream media, all they do is copy real content creators. They use their billions of pounds of money and sort of celebrities. They create they take the narrative from us, which jokes and which are banter, and they create real talking points. And I wouldn't be surprised to see on TalkSPORT, Sky Sports, TNT Sports, and the rest of them in the build up to this weekend, multiple football pundits say very similar to what Said has said here. Very, very similar along the lines of, but it was against a German team. He knows German football. It was in Europe. This reason, that reason. The second assist wasn't really an assist because it was a screamer. Should that assist really count? You know that whole conversation is going to be created as this narrative about him is going to grow. And we've seen it done to other football teams and other football clubs as well. But it did make me laugh. It did make me laugh seeing it because it's what fans do to each other. Actually, let me rephrase that. What some fans do. Not everybody partakes in that kind of banter, and that's fine. We want that dichotomy. We want that difference. What we don't want to now see is Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher having a genuine, serious discussion about this on the overlap. What we don't want to see is Football Focus on the BBC sort of create a whole piece on what assists are real and what assists are not. whilst ignoring 4 or 5 brilliant chances he's created this season that haven't been converted and ignoring them like they don't exist. What we don't want to see is Forbes magazine create think pieces based on banter. Do you know why we can't see that? Because the more of that happens, do you know what? Where you end up? You end up killing the game. Arsenal are the only team in the world who could score 5 goals every game and still nobody would fear them. This is a take that I saw that I was very interested in. And listen, it's by fan account, maybe a little bit of a troll account in it as well, but the interactions that it got, the quote tweets that it got, the energy that it received, I thought was very, very interesting indeed. And I've seen this so much in the last couple of weeks. Arsenal have gone to a new level. I still think there's a gear to go up. I still think they can become an even better team than they are right now. They're winning. Forget not conceding goals. They've conceded 1 shot on target in the last 3 games. They're creating open play chances. They are the most deadliest team we've seen in many, many years from set pieces. It's like a cheat code to them. And that should be something they're proud of. It should be something they are overjoyed with. Is there a necessity to score more from open play? I think we would all agree that they've got to find a way of doing that, especially if they want to win the Premier League. Will they do it? I'm personally fairly confident they will. You may have a difference of opinion. But what I find interesting is about people saying they're not. And listen, I want to be very clear here. When I said that Arsenal was scary, I never expected it to have such the social impact that it has. If I say I've had 1,000, I think I'm being conservative. I must have had at least 1,000 different types of messages, DMs, emails, direct messages, all those things, right? That's a DM, Terry. But you know what I'm saying? Across different networks, social, the YouTube comments, the amount of men, and it's always men, it's never women, that do the whole, I ain't scared of Arsenal. I ain't scared of them. What's there to be scared of? They don't win anything. I ain't scared. You think I'm hiding under my bed? Firstly, when I said that Arsenal was scary, in the context of my original video, it was the fact they were leaving Man United behind in the mud. That was it. And they were going to become title contenders. And the overarching point I made in that video was correct. They did go on to become title contenders. That was all I really said, in essence. I was breaking down their games and what I've noticed and how they're playing. And they've adapted since then. They've become a slightly more conservative team at times, but a much stronger squad, a better team. And I think they're probably in their best position since that point to win. But the amount of people that I see mocking it in their YouTube titles, mocking it on TikTok, not me, I don't take it personally. Well, you might be mocking me, but I don't care. It has no impact upon my life. I know what I said was true because it was how I felt at the time. You don't need to reflect that. However, what I have seen in that 3-year period is exactly this. Whenever Arsenal go through good periods, it's no one fears them, no one cares, it's rubbish. Well, if nobody fears them and nobody cares, why do you try and diminish set piece goals? Why is it everything they do gets ridiculed to the nth degree? The only last remaining kind of bastion you have in terms of opinions is, well, they haven't won a major trophy. So therefore I can criticize every training method, every bit of behavior, every little bit of fun they have at the football club, every gimmick, every post they make can be laughed at because there's no trophy. And I've always disagreed with that notion because they're not doing things that are abnormal at football clubs. It's just you're taking those things out of context, you're amplifying them and going to another degree. So I think when people post that they're not scared of Arsenal, my personal feeling is it's typically speaking a projection that they do fear that Arsenal will get over the line, because if they do, the banter will get kicked down the road. The can will get kicked and it will be, but it's won Prem in 6 years and all of that. But it just won't land as well. And I think people have made a bit of a living out of being overly negative and overly detrimental towards Arsenal, and they feel that is dwindling away. So it's almost just like a boxer struggling in the final round. It's just throwing Hail Marys, throwing haymakers, hoping they land one on the chin and it knocks them out. And I know what the pushback will be, by the way, but you make a lot of content praising Arsenal. I've also made a lot of content in the last few years criticizing Arteta's tactics, criticizing the transfer window, criticizing individual players. That just falls upon deaf ears because the haters, and I mean the haters in the sense of that don't like Arsenal getting praise, they only turn up to the content where Arsenal are getting praised. So therefore, they don't see the content. Arsenal lose, they just go off and get on with their lives. But there we go. That's them, not a me problem. But it led to this bit of content I saw yesterday, and I want to play this to you because I thought this was very interesting indeed of a debate. Let's take a little listen.
Would you put him as one of the top managers in the world?
It's too early to say that.
He's not a top 10 manager in the world for me. I'm not to say he can't be.
No,
you can't put him in a top 10 manager in the world.
You need to have something to hang your hat on. You can't just be saying we finished second. Right now, it's too premature to be having that conversation. He's the best man.
No, a lot of people think he's one of the best managers in the world.
Well, they're probably gooners. You know, based on what? Come on.
So look, let's have this conversation. And I think that this is a little disingenuous. And I think again, this isn't two men sitting having a conversation. This is a vat of people, producers, script writers, researchers, directors, everything. A big group of people at TalkSPORT putting this together. How is it that this debate is happening, but the elephant in the room isn't being addressed? There is a difference between legacy and current, and the current situation, the contemporary sense of this debate. So at a legacy level, no one would say that Arteta's legacy in football, the trophies he's won, his achievements, are better than Pellegrini's, are better than Mancini's, are better than Allegri. I'm naming you those managers. In fact, if you want to just look at trophies and remove where they were won, Ten Hag, Ruben Amorim, even Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, if we're going to go down the road of discounting where things were won, what leagues, what countries, what parts of the world, they've all won more than him. So if we're just basing it on trophies, then you're right. He's not in the top 10 in terms of trophy hall legacy. Cool. Why in this whole debate, and it's been raging on for 24 hours, I've been waiting for someone in the mainstream to do it, but of course not, they're killing the game, is can you name 10 managers you would generally, that's the wrong word, Terry, genuinely pick to come manage your club over him? And of course there are some. Pep, I would definitely pick. Luis Enrique, I would pick. Who else would I definitely pick? Jurgen Klopp. Forget I'm a Man United fan. Jurgen Klopp, if he came out of retirement. I think Diego Simeone would be a manager that I would go for. Carlo Ancelotti, even though he's managing probably still, maybe. But I'm now getting to that maybe point where I'm like, are they slightly past their best? Would they work now in this situation? Could it happen? And I'm thinking about all the other names. Would I pick Xavi Alonso? I know what he did in Germany was amazing, but I'm on the fence with it. And I love Xavi Alonso, but I'm on the fence with it. I'm looking at other names on this list of top managers right now. Would I pick Simeone? Yes. Would I pick Inzaghi? Maybe. He may or may not be in the top 10. And I'm kind of open to having that. I've not really spent any time thinking about where I rank him in current managers. This is the point of the argument that isn't happening. It's if your manager goes today and you can pick a new guy to come in, where in the pecking order would Arteta be? Because that answers the question of where you currently rank him. Because I don't think I think there are lots of managers with more trophies than him in their careers that you wouldn't pick right now. I don't believe anybody would truly pick Jose Mourinho to come in and be your manager right now over him. I don't think anybody would pick, right, you've got a choice, Allegri or Arteta to be your new manager. I think more people would go for Arteta. Of course, there are managers like I mentioned, Klopp and Pep, Carlo, Diego Simeone, who I think people would go for over Mikel Arteta because of where they currently sit and what they've won. But it can't just be based on who's the best right now. I mean, David Moyes has won a European trophy, but you wouldn't pick David Moyes over him. You just wouldn't, would you? You know? And I think that's why it's important to have these conversations honestly. And I feel the way that the mainstream media has kind of gone about this discussion is to mix the conversation of who would you pick right now versus what does their legacy say. And legacy versus right now is a very, very, very important conversation, in my opinion. It is. And it just seems that people don't want to have that part of the conversation, which I find to be really strange. I find it all to be really, really strange. But you may see it differently to me. You may think, no, he's not in the top 10, not top 20, not top 30, not top 40. Let me know in the comment section below. But what I find very interesting, and my final point on it is this. Perfect start to the Champions League campaign. Fantastic defensive record. No goals conceded in open play this season. And before you have a... City did? No, that was a counter-attack goal. Statistically speaking, it's considered counter-attack, not open play. There is no reason to really criticize Arsenal, but what did the mainstream media do? They create a debate out of nothing that doesn't need to happen, misrepresent what most football fans think and feel as a way of shitting on someone who they've got nothing to shit on at the moment. They're killing the game, man. Listen, hit the like button. Please make sure you're subscribing. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.